Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and this is another video on classic cameras from the past, and this is the Voigtlander Brilliant. This camera was built around about 1930, so it's getting on for 90 years old. But first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to my brother Michael, who found this camera in his loft, and he's not used it for many years, and he kindly gave it to me. He knows I collect cameras, and I'd like to say thanks, Michael, and say that I have used the camera and everything's working. So let's take a look around the camera. This camera is what they call a TLR, but it's different to Rolleiflex or the Voigtlander Superb TLR in that the viewing lens is not connected in any way to the taking lens. It's just primarily used for viewing. Now the big advantage with that is that the fact that when you lift the viewfinder up, you're presented with an absolutely unbelievably bright viewing screen. And you can, as you can see here, this one was taken in daylight, and this was taken indoors of my old Bergheil camera. So you can see it's very bright. Now the downside of it is you have to use a scale focus, but you do get used to that. And there was thousands of these cameras made. And I think, if I'm right in saying, it was called the war camera, because a lot of troops used this camera in the Second World War. So, you know, they must have got used to it, so I'm sure we can do as well. The scale focus works by, you have to judge the distances, although the aperture, if you're f7.7 or f11, you're going to get quite a lot of depth of field, unless you're getting really close in. But at normal distances, this scale focusing will work. It runs from 3 feet with this little lever around the lens to 6 feet, and then from 6 feet it goes all the way around to 20 feet. That's for groups, and then it goes then to infinity. So that's something you have to get used to. You can easily forget to do that. I did on one of the shots that I took, but you'll see in the pictures that I'm going to show you, it did create quite a nice looking picture. Now the camera has 3 apertures, 7.7. They're set with this lever here, f11 and f22. It has 2 shutter speeds running from 1/50th of a second, adjusting this lever here, to, I can't see that properly from here, but I think that's 1/25th of a second, and then it's awkward doing it one hand, and it goes also to B. So you've got 1/50th, 1/25th, and the B setting. The camera will take a cable release. You just screw that in at the back there. Bit awkward to get in, to get your fingers around to tighten it, but you can do it. And if you just press the release, it works. So that's good. Now there's no shutter button on this camera. You have to press this little lever, and that fires the shutter. Very quiet. The lens is I think it's a 75mm Voigtlander lens. It's nothing special, but the pictures I've taken, it does create these vintage looking shots, which I love. That's the thing with these cameras, that they do produce these beautiful old pictures. But not only that, when you're using cameras like this, there's so much history with them. You know, in 90 years, what was this camera used in the Second World War? We'll never know. You know, where has it been? It's just that history in your hands which makes it more enjoyable to use them. Right, what else on the front? That's about it on the front. So as I say, it's a 75mm f7.7 lens, so it's not very good for low light. And because you've only got 3 apertures and 2 shutter speeds, you have to really pick your days for using this camera. In very bright light, you're probably okay. In very dull light, you're going to struggle with this camera. You'll be all right shooting at night because you've got the B setting, but in low light you are going to struggle. I went out the other day. I'll show you the pictures after I'll show you the camera, and it was quite bright, and it performed very well for a camera of its age, obviously. Let's have a look around the side of the camera. As you see, that simply shuts like that. And when you want to open it, you just pull that knob, and the viewfinder opens. And again, I'm just repeating this, but I've never seen a viewfinder as bright as this. It's absolutely fabulous to look through. Look at this side of the camera. Conventional, we've just got these little knobs that you pull out so you can engage the film spools in the back of the camera. One there, and that's for a strap. Look at the other side. Now this is a little bit more interesting. This is quite unique in that it's a frame counter. You can double expose with this camera, and you'll see the pictures I took. I double expose one, but the frame counter does read the film, and I'll show you how it does that. It's quite advanced for its time. And also, when you load this camera, you have to follow the number at the bottom of the camera first, and when you've done that, you reset using this button. It resets that counter to number 1. I'll show you how that works when I finish showing you around the camera. And then we've got one of them knobs again that you pull out, so you can engage the film spool, and one there that's just inside the wind-on knob. And this is the wind-on knob. To wind the film, you just simply turn that, and that will show in there the frame that you're going to. You have to be careful to get these frames correctly set. Don't go too far, or don't go not far enough. Otherwise, you will get odd frame spacing. You can actually overlap the frames. So basically, that's the camera. Dead simple to use. And now I'm going to show you how you load this camera. Right, so this is how you load the Voigtlander Brilliant. At the back, you've got a little catch. Now this catch, just a word of warning with that catch is easily moved if you pull it out of a camera bag. It can just clip off easily. So I would say just put a little bit of tape over there, just as a safety measure, so it won't pop off if you pull it out of the bag and catch it. Anyway, you pull the catch and it opens the bottom of the camera, and then you lift that up and you can see the inside of the camera now. To put a spiral in the camera, you pull these levers out at the side and make them lock out. Same for this side there. And the best way with this camera is to just drop the film in like that. Click that one. Click that one in until you can actually feel the film turn. That's caught the film now. So that's where it's your take-up spool. And I've got a dummy film here, and again, turn the camera its back. Pull these two catches out of the side, and then simply drop the film in like that. Turn the catches, turn that catch, and the film's locked in place. And then what you do is there's a light seal there, form like a felt light seal. You pull the film underneath, and it goes up underneath that onto the roller here, and you pull it across, and then locate it into the take-up spool like that, and then wind the camera. It's awkward doing this when videoing. Just wind the camera on. Sorry, wind the film on. When you've got so far, and you can see that it's caught up on the take-up spool, close that back and close this. Now, the key to this is I've covered it with black tape, which I would advise you to do. We have a window here, and because this camera, in the days that this was built, they didn't have them, or there was no markings for 6x6. You had to follow the 6x9 markings. So what you do is you wind the film on until, don't know if you can see this on the video, until the number 1 comes up in that window. Number 1's come up, and then you just cover that with a bit of black tape, because we don't want any light getting in with modern films. And then with this camera, you click this little lever, if you can see this, and the lever goes, the frame counter goes to number 1, and then you just simply wind the camera on after the first shot, wind on, and you go to number 2. So you only use that bottom window there to line up the film to number 1, and once that's done you don't use that, you use this frame counter here. And it's quite a clever mechanism. So if I just wind the film completely on, I'll show you that mechanism. As I say, it was quite advanced for its time, and it works surprisingly well. Right, I'm at number 12. Open the back. I could just hear the film pulling off the spool at the bottom and flipping around at the one at the top. To get the film out, you just pull that, same as we did before. Pull that one out, just twist it so it locks, and just drop the film out. Like that, and we've got the film out. Now it's this is a clever bit. When you're winding this, it turns this lever, and your film that's running over the top of it's like a roller, and as your film's rolling along the top, it counts the frames, and it's worked with these I don't know if you can see that, these cogs. Now if I press that, you'll probably hear it reset. No, it's not, it's reset itself. So it turns that lever there and those cogs, and it actually counts the frames on the camera. So it was quite clever, and you know, it must have been really well thought out, because it still works to this day. On this camera it does anyway. So that's how to load the camera. Now it's okay loading film into these cameras, but really they need to be light tight. And after I'd used this camera the first time, I realised that it was letting in light and the negatives were getting slightly fogged. So I decided to replace the light seals on this camera, and I just thought I'd show you the areas that you need to replace. So we're looking at the bottom of the camera now, the bottom door. I replaced the light seals on this edge here, the opposite side, the top of the door there, and then on the body, the bar that runs across there, that seals light getting in through the hinges, and then there's another bar that runs across the bottom there, sealed it to put the light seal on that. Then if we look at the back door, very similar to the small door, both sides new light seals, the top of the door, and again on the body where the hinge is. And so when this camera shuts now, instead of being slack when you shut it, it feels like it's pressing against the foam, and this camera's now light tight. To get the old light seals off, I used a piece of sharp wood, or you can use a toothpick, anything where you can really push it in and try and push these get these old light seals off. If you find it difficult doing it with wood, sometimes you've got to get a sharp knife, a bit like a hobby knife, and just push it underneath the edges of the older light seals. And if you can get hold of one of those edges, you'll find that normally the older type light seals are made of cloth, and normally they pull off. And when you've got them all off, the next thing to do is clean where you're going to put the new light seals. For that I use this isopropyl alcohol, and then just used a cotton bud, soaked the areas with the alcohol, and they kept rubbing until I got all the old adhesive off and debris, etc. So it made a clean flat surface, and then placed the foam on. The foam that I've used for a lot of cameras is this. It's 1.5mm thick light sealing foam. It's very strong. If you crack it with your fingers like that, scrape it, you'll find it's very difficult to damage because it's high quality foam, very dense foam. Now I think it's pointless buying cheap light seals, say off eBay, because they don't last 2 minutes. You've got to pay the price to get a decent product, and I got these from a company called Nik and Trick. They're a photographic UK shop. I'll leave a link in the description. And these light seals were actually, this is left over from a kit that I bought for my Mamiya 6 folding cameras. And you get plenty of foam to use, and this is what was left over. So I simply just cut pieces off to fit the areas that I was going to put the foam in. It's self-adhesive, and once it gets stuck down, after 24 hours you can hardly move it. It's very, very good. So as I said, don't buy cheap foam, buy decent foam, and it's going to last you years. So that's where to put the light seal to make the camera light tight. Don't forget, really give it a good clean to make sure you've got all the dirt and muck off. It's probably been there for years, and then fit the new light seals. Things to watch out when you're using this camera is if you're shooting directly into light, you will get flare because it's an uncoated lens. So you've got to be careful where you point the camera. Don't expect Rolleiflex quality. You're not going to get that from this type of lens, but it will produce these timeless, if you like the older look, it will produce that. And I'm going to show in the pictures the photographs that I took the other day with it. They're no masterpieces, it was just to test the camera, but it will show you that this camera produces vintage looking pictures for the era that this camera was made. So that's the Voigtlander Brilliant. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you get the chance to buy one of these, I'd certainly recommend it. They go very cheap on the big auction sites, and they are fun to use. Right, so that's it, the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a like. Better still, subscribe to my channel. And once again, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.